he says, what is their faith? What is their people? What ummah? What the Hebrew word meaning people? It's also famously in Arabic where the ummah.
Right, so it's a bit tricky to translate, right? Because ummah in Arabic doesn't mean a nationality.
But it means a people. Like, what is it? It's not. Yeah. It's not necessarily ethnically transmitted from parent to children, but it is clear. It is a very similar concept.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I want to dwell on this for a second. So we have this idea in let's say in American culture of how nationalism is evil. Right, nationalism is conflated with with Nazis, right? Ethnic nationalism.
I mean, the Nazis were nationalists; they certainly
were. Absolutely. So what they tend to do is conflate ethnic nationalism with the Nazis because the Nazis were ethnic nationalists. At the same time, we have these other concepts in Hebrew and in Arabic which aren't ethnic nationalities, and those aren't even recognized. Right?
What do you mean they're not recognized? Like, people don't know about them. People don't know what an ummah is.
No, in other words, they don't know what an ummah is. So the question many Jews will get is, so is Judaism a religion, or is it a people, or is it a nationality? And the answer is yes.
Right, and the answer
is it's an ethno-nationality.
But they're not really totally, but they're not separate.
They're indistinguishable, but neither of them is really true either, because you could be an atheist Jew, and you could be a devout Jew who doesn't have a drop of Jewish blood from your parents, right? So ummah includes, it's a term that's really difficult to explain.
Correct.
Right?
The problem is, of course, that the king of Sweden surely didn't use the word ummah. We don't know what language he wrote the letter in.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
He probably wrote the letter in Swedish, Latin, or German, or something like that, and had once somebody translate it for him to Hebrew and sent it to the East for it to get into the Karaite community in his domains, who forwarded it to the Karaite community
and here's another interesting question. So we're told in the 19th century we have the rise of ethnic nationalism. There's this idea they have in India of civic nationalism, which I think is a really beautiful idea. Civic nationalism is you're proud of your country, and it's not necessarily along ethnic lines. It's along, this is the country I'm loyal to, I was born in, that takes care of me.
Which was a concept that did not exist at the time. As we say, the country, you're asking me, was this Poland, was this Ukraine? There were empires, but there were no countries. Yeah.
Did ethnic nationalism exist at that time? That's the question.
What do you mean? How are you defining ethnic nationalism?
In other words, there's this narrative that I was told in history, that in the 19th century we have the rise of ethnic nationalism, where all of a sudden the Greeks say, hey, we're Greek, we should have our own country.
The idea of having your own country.
We should have our own country. Did the idea exist in the beginning of the 18th century?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Or if it did, it certainly didn't. I probably didn't exist in the way it exists today.